A very good morning. You're watching NewsX at 10 a.m. I'm Akshay Tandon. For the second time in 2 days, a balloon caused a security scare in the country. This time it was Delhi's IGI airport as a suspicious balloon-like object was spotted. The police put the airport on high alert. This just days after IAF shot down another object in Rajasthan, Barmer. What's flying in the Indian skies remains a big question. Well, let's bring in our expert, Brigadier Mahalingam, joining us in the studio, a defence expert. Good morning, Brigadier. Thanks very much for coming in. Brigadier, what do you make of these balloons doing the rounds in the air? How really imminent is a threat, and how do you evaluate a balloon threat in the country, looking at the incident not just in Delhi at the IGI airport, which happened to be the I am the balloon, but also what was shot down in Barmer in Rajasthan?
See, this phenomena of the balloon appearing, it's not new in India now. It has been happening right since May. In fact, if you recall, May 23rd, similar balloons appeared in Mumbai. Now, having said that, let me say these balloons coming from across the border could be a threat. Okay. Or it could also be a measure to assess India's reaction to such flying objects coming in. Now, what can these flying objects do? Yes. First of all, they can carry a dangerous payload, which could be weapons, explosives, chemical, biological weapons, and anything else besides certain equipment meant to give a direct telecast of what the balloon sees down below. And also, certain fire and certain weapon systems can be directed accurately from over a particular spot. Okay. And it can interfere with aircraft movement, and it can do quite a lot of things. Okay. Therefore, this particular phenomenon is important, but then the requirement is we need to evaluate every instance appropriately and take action.
Brigadier, let's talk about the instance that we saw in Barmer where this balloon was shot down by an Indian Air Force aircraft. There was no payload on it, but it was being said there were some sort of metal objects found once that balloon really came down. Sources indicate it could have come from Pakistan. My question to you really being by an Indian Air Force aircraft. There was no payload on it, but it was being said there were some sort of metal objects found once that balloon really came down. Sources indicate it could have come from Pakistan. My question to you really being, the amount of threat and the perception of threat with a balloon of this magnitude in terms of the payload, etc., the preparedness of the Indian Air Force and the response of the Indian Air Force, how do you gauge that?
As far as response is concerned, though it is very surprising and sometimes it is ridiculous, in fact, to find that the jet aircraft coming and chasing a balloon and firing at it sounds rather ridiculous. That is how...
But this was the case of the Republic Day. It was on Tuesday, so perhaps they took extra precaution in
it. But then that happened in Rajasthan and the Republic Day parade was taking place here.
But still, Republic Day of the country. So perhaps they took that extra precaution. That
apart, the point that I want to mention is that first of all, we have to be quite clear that there are any number of sports activities, adventure activities like hot air balloons, like parasailing, power parasailing, hang gliding, and so many other things happen. So the point is that you cannot really touch upon and say that we will ban these entire lot of ballooning and things like that. The requirement therefore is that, as I mentioned, in Mumbai this happened in May. After that we seem to have done nothing. The requirement is firstly regulate. For example, in the United States, you have the FAA regulations. FAA is the Federal Aviation Administration regulations, which precisely says what can be flown, what should be its size or what size it should not exceed, what load it can carry, where it can fly and where it cannot fly. These things are specified. We don't seem to have any such
specific guidelines.
There are no guidelines. And secondly, even if you make the guidelines, do you have any system to say that this is how the thing will say? For example, if you tomorrow find a balloon, do you know what to do with that? Where to report, how to report? people are unaware of the whole thing.
Okay.
So that needs to be tied up.
Okay, just stay with me, Brigadier. I want to pull in my colleague Nikunj Garg also joining us, Director for Internal Security Affairs of the country. Good morning, Nikunj. Tell us, what's the response really been of the Defence Ministry so far? We've seen instances of these balloons really appearing in Mumbai. We saw in Jaipur, and of course now at the Delhi at the IGI airport. Okay, I'm being told we'll be connecting with Nikunj very shortly. We've lost our telephone line with him. But Brigadier, coming back to you, the response of the Defence Minister, the response of the agencies involved in this particular case, and the fact that the one that was now spotted at the IGA airport was actually IMD, the meteorological department, that sends out these balloons to try and test the weather conditions, the air, the moisture, the humidity, the wind conditions, etc., etc. Now, that's a mechanism that cannot be really shot down until and unless a new method really comes up for the IMD.
See, that is precisely what I was saying, that you need to have some mechanism evolved, certain rules and regulations put. So, for example, as you rightly said, meteorological department flies. Do they take somebody's permission? Is there somebody aware of it? What is the procedure? Number one. Second thing is, when a particular objective like this, it is a balloon today, it can be anything else tomorrow, flying object coming in. If that is the case, is there a method by which the common man or somebody who sees, can he report? Whom to report? To the police? I mean, we have to have a nodal agency who has to receive the information, and thereafter you need to have somebody to take a decision what to do with it. And thirdly, what is required, you need an agency nominated to take action against the particular balloon, as also the other elements which are required for scanning and sort of finding out what happened in ground and where it happened.
No, but Brigadier, explain this to us. If this happens to be a real threat and the government and the country are to be concerned of balloons coming in from across the border, the fact that the speed at which a balloon really comes in and the kind of payload a balloon can really have, what could be the magnitude of it? Because it's very different from actually an aircraft coming in and doing mischievous activities vis-a-vis a balloon coming in, looking at the speed at which it travels in.
See, the balloon coming in, and if somebody shoots it, the enemy loses nothing. Understand that. There is a difference between losing a balloon and losing an aircraft, number one.
Of course.
The second thing is, a slow-moving object can very well concentrate on a particular area and give you very clear images of that particular area for a man sitting back.
But that could happen with drones as well. Why just a balloon?
It could happen with what?
Drones as well.
It can happen with drones, but a drone is a fast-moving object. And as far as a balloon is concerned, it's an unsuspecting object, not a very costly sort of...
Okay, so that's one of the reasons why we need to be extra vigilant when it comes to balloons, perhaps flying in from across the border as well.
Absolutely.
Now, Brigadier, you were talking about policies and guidelines of objects flying in the air. After balloons, the other thought that comes to my mind also is electronic drones that are so easily available on the internet. Anybody can purchase a drone, have a homeland delivery, and if they want, can cause mischievous activities because of a drone. How do you regulate that?
See, the point is, there has to be a single point regulation which says everything about every flying object in the country. Be it drones, be it balloons, be it aircrafts, be it some...
No, we have policies for aircrafts, you would agree, but the other objects like balloons and drones, something we do not have guidelines for just as yet.
You need to have a guideline. For example, what weight? What can it carry? Can it drop something? Which are the areas where they are not supposed to sort of fly? Say, for example, airfield.
Right.
For at least 5 kilometers around the airfield, you cannot have the objectives flying like this. Therefore, this has got to be clearly spelled out. And not spelling out is not good enough. The people need to know about these rules and regulations.
Right, stay with me, Brigadier. We also have with us over the telephone line Major General Raj Katyan joining us this morning. Good morning, sir. We're discussing, of course, the imminent threat, if there is any, with balloons in the country, and, of course, the response of these balloons. We've seen them emerge in Mumbai, in Rajasthan, and yesterday, of course, in Delhi, which happened to be an IMD balloon, which was which was a clarification given by the IMD itself. How imminent is a threat vis-a-vis a balloon flying in this space, Major General Katyan? Are you with us on the phone line, General?
Hello.
Yes, sir. I was asking you a question. Yeah. Go ahead, sir. How do you evaluate the threat from a flying object like a balloon in the airspace?
Well, yesterday the information was only balloon and they were carrying out investigation. This morning I learned that the balloon was carrying a camera and certain other equipment. It is obviously, if that is true, then it is obviously a case of electronic espionage that Pakistan is engaging itself in. Pakistan needs to realize that Indo-Pak border is a very sensitive border, whether it is J&K or international border. And any activity on the border will be a suspect. If this may not have caused any damage, very good alert by our security forces that it was brought down. But we need to lodge a strong diplomatic protection on this activity. I believe 3 balloons have been at different places have been located. And take adequate measures on the border, plus also have some kind of an agreement with them that should be a kind of
Brigadier Mahalingam in the studio is also suggesting we need to have a nodal agency. We do not have specific guidelines of how airspace needs to be monitored. We might have policies when it comes to airplanes and aircrafts, but other objects like drones, like balloons, for something we need to really revisit these guidelines of invasion and airspace. Do you agree with that, Major General Gadian?
Guidelines are meaningful only with a country that is responsible. If Pakistan's behavior has been anything but responsible in the real past, it can have any kind of guideline.
Okay.
But we need to increase our surveillance. Any suspicious object, of course, we must lodge a protest with Pakistan. This is against the international norm.
Right.
To send cameras flying into a neighboring country, particularly in relation to Pakistan and India.
Okay.
So protest is something we need to take our own measures so that we are not caught unaware by this kind of electronic espionage.
Okay. We'll leave it at that for General Gadian. Thanks very much for joining us. Brigadier Mahalingam, thanks very much as well for your expert comments and perspective on how India should be ready for such sort of instances. Thank you very much, Jen.